Cool. So I'll start over again for the sake of the recording. So yes, my name's Vicki. I'm a Salesforce consultant and certified instructor. I'm also part of the Marketing Champions program. So I spend a lot of time in the Marketing Cloud Pardot space. And I'm 13 times certified as of last week and 3 times mom, which I think is even more challenging than getting Salesforce certified sometimes. I have a soon-to-be 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, and an 8-year-old at home. And they're actually not here right now, so you won't see them popping up like they usually do on these sessions. And I just threw in my Twitter and LinkedIn, so if anybody wants to connect, I'm always happy to. So yes, my background being English language teaching and second language acquisition, I have a lot of techniques and things like that that I've brought with me. And actually, one of the things that I brought with me from the USA, because my accent is originally from New Jersey, and in my 2 suitcases that I originally brought over with me when I moved here about 12 years ago, one of them was my language teaching book. So it's a textbook. It's stayed with me for a really long time, and I've just kept these ideas with me for a while. So just to start off and like orient ourselves, how do we make our Salesforce adoption a success? There's no magic key to it. We wish that there would be sometimes. But some tips are getting your team members involved, showing the value and impact on their everyday job roles, telling the story of how you're going to help improve their day-to-day life and how you'll be able to make more of an impact as a nonprofit. And the last one is provide proper training, because a lot of times we'll get the projects done, we'll get things implemented, and then we'll kind of go, okay, we're all done. And there's a huge part of it that is providing training. So this session is actually inspired by a couple of presentations that I've done in the past, and most recently a Salesforce Ben article that was around how to become a better trainer as an administrator, but it really works for the nonprofit space as well. So to start us off, I have the VARC model. And has anybody worked with the VARC model or any of the other ones before? Cool. So new stuff today. Sometimes I'll get people who are like, oh yeah, I know that. I've done it for years. So there's really 4 different main learning styles. And I'll preface this by saying you usually don't fall into just one. You'll be a little mix of at least 2 of them, or maybe even depending on the day, your learning style may change. But it does fall into visual learners, auditory learners, read and write learners, or kinesthetic learners. So your visual learners are going to be the people who are the very visual people. They like graphs, they like charts. They're going to love a Salesforce dashboard. Any sort of infographic that you can have for them, they're really going to appreciate that type of learning and that type of visual. An auditory learner is the person who can listen to a class, and then when they're sitting down and taking their exam, listen back to the teacher. And they're going to be the ones who really enjoy listening to people, whether it's through podcasts, it might be through recordings, through in-person classes, through in-person teaching. Our read-write is the person who likes to take notes and write everything down. So by writing, this falls for me a lot. I fall into the read-write quite a bit, and I have notebooks that when I'm studying, I have my notes going. And yes, it helps you to absorb the information, to be able to retain that information through writing it down in your own handwriting. And then you've got your kinesthetic learners. So it has this little man running here, but it's really the doing. You like to be active, you like to do things. And those are the people who are going to jump into a dev org and figure out how to do something by actually going in and doing it. So when you're developing training, what we're trying to do, and this works for internal teams as well as Salesforce projects if you're doing them, is try to get a little something for everybody. We want to have a little bit of training that, while we might not have 4 different types of training each time that we do a training session, we try to mix it up a little bit. So that way you're getting everybody's different learning styles. You're really making for inclusive training no matter who's on the team. And yeah, the next up is the Addie Model. So this is another part of my language acquisition and designing of courses and content and things like that, that actually, when I was learning Salesforce and coming in and learning projects and consultancy, I was like, oh, this looks really, really familiar, because it is very much the same design model. This goes across multiple industries, multiple vectors, the nonprofit space, the training space, the Salesforce space. Where we start with analysis. So as far as training goes, and when we're trying to deliver training or create training for our teams, we say, okay, well, what's that gap we're trying to fill? What do they actually need to be able to do at the end of the day? And what do they not know already? Because we're not trying to reteach the wheel. We're not trying to teach people things that they already know how to do. But really, where is that gap that we need to fill? And then only when we've had that analysis do we really move on to design. So just like with a good old Salesforce project, we need to design our training and our content as well. And this might be putting together PowerPoint presentations. It might be putting together trailheads, trailhead modules, and trail mixes. It might just be putting together white papers that you're going to circulate for people to be able to read afterwards. But what does that design look like? And then actually bringing it to life. So then you go into development and you start to build your learning experience and all of your training that you'd like to do. And then you go into implementation phase. And as far as training goes, this is actually delivering the training. So not all training has to be in person or on the spot, like we're doing right now with somebody giving a presentation in front of everybody else. It could be that you're distributing learning through a learning platform where they're able to pick it up and drop the learning as they see fit, as they have time. So it could be a little mix and match of everything there. And then evaluation, because once we actually deliver the training, you want to keep having that cyclical fashion. And in the Salesforce world, in the project space, we talk about the cyclical lifestyle where our project and our work is never really done. And those of you who just went into nonprofit admin roles, like you're shaking your head like, yes, I know that my work is never done. And it's always going to be evaluating and saying, okay, well, how did that training go? Where are the gaps still? How does everybody feel about their learning? And bringing it back to the analysis phase if necessary. And then I promise I'm not going to bore you with language theory and training theory the whole day. But my very last one is the one that is my favorite, and it's backwards design. So what you do with backwards design is you start with the end goal. What am I trying to get my trainees, my team to be able to do at the end of the day? Is it that I want them to be able to make awesome dashboards? In that case, I need to teach them how to learn, create the reports that are going to be the underlining reports and any other bits of information, like maybe some data quality is going to come into that, because I need to make sure I have good quality data if I want my reports and my dashboards to be correct and up to date. So it's always going to your end goal and then taking it backwards from there. And I even used to sketch this out when I worked with French students learning English. I would sketch out, okay, well, what's that very end goal or the end project that I would want them to do? And the same thing applies to our Salesforce design. So when we're designing a training program, even if we're just designing a learning day, it could be a learning lunch. You always want to have a goal that you're working towards, or what is that acquisition that you'd like to have? What part of the project are you going to get done? And even when I'm delivering client training sessions, I like to do it almost workshop style, because if you can find something that you can bring value and bring benefit to the organization or to the team, rather than just having a dummy project, basically, then that's going to be so much more well received, because they'll be appreciative that not only are you teaching them how to do something, but you're also making something useful that they're going to be used moving forward. And an example is a client I was working with the other day, doing form assembly. Well, I don't want to create a form assembly dummy form for them. I would much rather have them come up with an idea of what they would like to have as a form and then work together and create that and get them doing the hands-on part of the work as well. So that backwards design really helps you to decide where you want to start in the first place with any sort of training and what the everyday tasks that we'd like them to be able to accomplish with are at the end. So that brings me to bringing all of that training and all of those different techniques together and putting them into action. And this is where there's no better company to look at for this really than Salesforce themselves. We say that Salesforce is the best company if you want to learn sales or marketing. Look at how Salesforce does it. And Trailhead is very much the same way. So Trailhead works, and again, you'll hear that some people love Trailhead, some people love it a little bit less. That's because of our different learning styles, because it does hit up a couple of them, but not everybody is going to love it as much as the next person. So they do have a lot of gamification. And this is a learning technique of just making learning fun, because we absorb information the most when we're kids, really. From the ages of around 5 to 10, we're absorbing a whole ton of language information. And even before that, we're sponges. And part of the reason for that is because there's so much play going into it. There's so much play, there's so much fun, and we still work that way. Our brains as human beings still work. That play really helps us to learn. So when we can gamify it, when we can make it fun, we can get the competitive side going and start a little challenge. And that's actually personally how I got into Salesforce, is that I have a little bit of a competitive streak, and with some colleagues, we got a little Trailhead challenge going on, and we're just pushing each other week by week to get more badges to collect them all, kind of like the Pokemon. And it does work really well. So you can even get a Trailhead competition in your team, in your nonprofit. Get everybody onto Trailhead, get everybody earning badges, and then have end of the week summaries or little prizes at the end of the month for whoever wins the most. So you can almost bring that gamification that Trailhead already does into your own companies, into your own teams. Another tool that works really well is role play. So having real life situations or use cases, scenarios that you want to have that real life situation from. You can have people act as the customer, act as the client, act as a constituent coming and dealing with your nonprofit. And through that role play, you can really help to teach different materials around Salesforce, how to use the product, and even how to interact with the product too. So role play works really nice. And I've been on a few training sessions actually lately myself, because I like learning just as much as I like teaching. So I do quite a few of them. And some of the best ones that I've been on lately have been role plays, where you're sitting with a group of people and each of you gets a role to play, and one of you will be the customer, and you have to act it out how to deal with a difficult customer. And sometimes it can be really uncomfortable, but by putting yourself in that situation in a safe space, you're allowing you to take that knowledge, take that learning with you. And then when that happens to you in real life, it's a whole lot easier to deal with, which is actually what happened to me. One of my training sessions was a difficult customer, and I went out of it and was like, oh, I can't do anything else for the end of the day. This just shook me completely. And then when I was in that situation in real life later, it was like, oh yeah, I remember how to deal with that. So it is a really useful technique to use. And then we have our good old case studies. So again, nobody better than Salesforce for that. They tell their customer stories, they tell Trailblazer stories, and we've heard quite a few of them. But you can help people to envision how your Salesforce project is going to work by showing how other companies do it. And really, nobody wants to be the first one to do something new. So by showing the team, your company, somebody else is doing it this way already, you're really helping with adoption too. Lunch and learns are a fantastic way of just increasing learning within your organization. So especially if you do have some champions in your team, people who are really excited about your Salesforce project, about your adoption, then lunch and learns are a really great way to engage with those individuals. And it just creates an informal session, kind of like we're doing now, where everybody sits down, has a coffee together. One person might present about some information, and you just have that knowledge share. So pizza, coffee, and donuts really help with that and to help to get people in the room. But when we're virtual, we can't always have that. So virtual donuts. And of course, our good old community events. So we all are here today. We know how great the Trailblazer community is, but sometimes it's getting the other people in your organization just as excited about that. So share community groups, share virtual groups, just let them know that this is out here and that there's a whole bunch of us in the community who have drank the Kool-Aid and like to share information and knowledge and just chat with each other and help each other out. And it helps to create that bonding experience and really make the team that you're working with to feel welcome as well. So, oh, sorry, clicked into that link, didn't mean to, but we'll share this slide deck out with everybody. I need to stop clicking there. So we'll share the slide deck out with everybody, but I just put in a couple of additional resources. One is the Salesforce Ben article. So I tried to not to give the exact same information here today. There's a little bit more in there. I have a trail mix on Trailhead. So this one is called Knowledge is Power, really about training delivery and some useful ones. And I'll throw it in the chat here for everybody. But this is a great way. Oh, that's a really long link. Sorry about that. Has a bunch of parameters at the end. But yes, it goes through some things around training and enablement, storytelling, and communication. And if nobody has created a trail mix before, this is going to be my last little hands-on piece of learning for today. Trail mixes are a great way of not recreating the wheel, because a lot of times we're not necessarily trainers per se in our role. It's just part of what we do. And especially if you're in a nonprofit and you're trying to train up the rest of your team on functionality, you may not have time to develop training, and there's no need to. There's no need to recreate the wheel if it's already out there. So that's where I said Salesforce and Trailhead have already done it, most of the heavy lifting for us. And in my classes that I teach, a lot of times when we're going through practice questions or something like that, I'll always say, there's a Trailhead module for that. And I feel like I should get a hat or a shirt that says that. But it is true. And you can create trail mixes around the particular topic that you're trying to reinforce that day. And it just gives an extra level of teaching. So if you're doing a hands-on training during a lunch and learn, and you say, okay, I'm doing it around reports and dashboards. And then to help to reinforce that, you can send out a little white paper on reports and dashboards, because Salesforce has a ton of great help documentation and white papers. And then you can also create a little trail mix. So you can say, I want a reports and dashboards trail mix. This is to make you awesome at analytics. And then you can have your URL. You can make it nice and on brand for your nonprofit as well. And then you can go ahead and add content. And even Salesforce and our good old AI helps you with this. So based on the title of my trail mix, they'll start to even recommend some things. So I might go, oh, this quick start, that's an awesome one to add. What else should I add? Reports and dashboards. So a word to the wise, don't make this too long, because you might not want to give like your nonprofit team that's just getting started the Lightning Experience Reports and Dashboard Specialist super badge, because then you're just going to scare them off when they see that you're assigning them 30 hours of learning all at once. So we don't want to scare anybody on the team, but that might be enough to give a good start. Then we can go ahead and save this. And then I'll show you what I always do is forget to make it shareable. So I can see this right now, but the reason why we're all on today is to learn something. So you have to click on the share button and make sure that it's visible to the public. Now you'll be able to share this out with your team. So nothing is worse than getting your team really excited about Trailhead and having people going, okay, I'm going to jump in, I'm going to get some badges done, I've blocked out time, and then them going to a URL that says that it's private. So just make sure that you turn this on and make it public. And then you're all set and ready to go. So there's a little bit of additional reading here if you'd like it as well around the Addie method and different learning styles. The learning styles is a good example of a visual learning because it's a nice little infographic here. And that's it for me. So does anybody have any questions? I'm reading the chat, yeah. A shirt force design. I like that idea. There's a trailhead for that. We can get it going.
Yeah, and the other question that was in the chat, which I saw from Yvonne.
Yeah, is there an additional cost? No, anybody can make a trail mix. So actually in Trailhead, you have modules which are more, they're focused more on learning. So these are going to be for people who like to read. A module is going to be a lot of reading through the functionality, how it works. The projects are hands-on projects. So going back to our learning styles, it's nice to have a little mix of those. Trails are going to be around a specific topic that is created by Trailhead. It's going to be a mix of modules, projects, maybe some articles too. And then trail mixes are custom learning and anybody can make them. So you can hop on Trailhead. Trailhead is completely free and then it's free to create trail mixes as well. So actually, if I go into my trail mixes, I have a whole bunch in here already. But you can see created by me, I have 23 right now. So I haven't found any limits around them yet. Yeah, my Trailhead is a paid version, yes. My Trailhead lets you make your own learning in it. So you can like write out your own learning and processes. So it's more like a mix between Trailhead and an LMS there. Yeah, when my husband showed a slight interest, which has kind of gone away at this point, but when he showed an interest in Salesforce when I first got into it, I even made a trail mix for him. I've sent trail mixes to my friends, to my sister. Like, you can start to spam your friends and family with them. Yeah, everyone can see it. That's right. So if it is public, it's public to everybody. That being said, I've never had anybody come up to me and be like, oh, Vicki, I found your trail mix and was working through it the last week. So I don't know how easy it is to find them. If you do a search, sometimes you'll find some big top hitters, but yeah, if you're just making it for like a customer or for your team, you're probably not going to get that as much.
The only times I've seen that kind of thing happens if you create something that's like a popular topic.
Yeah. And I think you have to do some marketing around it probably too, because even like a popular topic, everybody does them. So you probably have to get people clicking into it to work the algorithm to actually show up in searches.
Yeah, true.
Cool. So I'm going to stop my screen share then, get Astra off.
Great. Well,
and then I'll hand it over to you, Mark.
Great. Well, thanks, Vicki. And I'm just looking for the. I don't see any further questions, so I will set my screen up ready to go. And thankfully, it is already ready. So let me just set that up.
While you share that, Mark, I'm just going to say thank you, Vicki. That was really, really interesting. So I really enjoyed that. So thank you. I hope everybody else enjoyed it. And if I end up jumping before the end of Mark being done, thank you very much, everybody. And we will have the date out for the next one out soon, and we'll get it published in the group and everything. So thanks, guys.
Safe travels back home.
Take it away, Mark.
Great.
Thank you.
Great. Well, continuing on the theme with kind of like learning and training, we thought that today we would actually cover some a little bit of more practical inside of Salesforce. and we're going to be looking today at in-app learning. So if you might have already heard of in-app learning, it was a feature that was rolled out in the spring 21 release. So it was rolled out last February. So it's been in existence within Salesforce for a little over a year now in terms of that. But we're going to be having a look at this product today. I do have 20 minutes set for this. However, it might not necessarily take 20 minutes to go over, because it's, on the face of it, it's relatively simple to use this. But I do have something I did want to kind of mention as we kind of getting into this beforehand, and that is that in-app learning, at least on my experience, it's one of those tools where it's kind of like it's an okay start, but it might not be the best solution for you overall. But it's an option that's out there, and there is another option which we won't be covering in this session, but it is something that I could easily provide some information on if that was more interesting potentially. But to have a look at what in-app learning is, you'll see here I've got my little screen set up on here, which is where I'm going to be doing the demo for today. So in-app learning is a tool within Salesforce's Guidance Center. If you're not familiar with that name, it is basically just what Salesforce call the suite of tools that include in-app guidance, which you might be familiar with, and in-app learning, as well as a few other things, as well as forms part of the Guidance Center. But the two big components of that are in-app learning and in-app guidance. And what you can do with it is you can assign learning content to specific users or teams, and I'll be going a demo through that rather than just talking through what it is. But you can assign Trailhead content to specific users or individuals. You can also assign essentially links to them as well. However, with the link format, I am not 100% sure whether the second portion of what I'll be going through today actually works with that. So that's just something to see in full transparency. There's a part of that which I'm not 100% sure how that works or if it works. And some key points to raise before we kind of go into the more hands-on side of things in there. So if you're anything like me and you kind of end up thinking of ideas of, I think, ways you can use, say, a flow, for example, to work with it, learning content as a object, which is where the information for what we assign lives, isn't available in Flow, but that's just something to bear in mind. So you can't do things like set up custom notifications necessarily within that, which isn't the best thing, but it's hopefully you're all right for the most part. Reporting is available for learning content, and again, just learning content is the name of the object where what you assign in learning sits. Other fields related to that can be assigned, and we'll go through that in the report builder, so you can see how that works. And any reports you create around in-app learning can also be included in dashboards. And you can see if I scroll down my page a little bit, I have a couple of examples of reports of assignments that have been added, where I've got completed and I've got in progress. But with that being said, let me just show you very quickly something that you'll need to bear in mind if you don't have it. And this is something in setup. So let me just open up setup and I'll show you this very quickly. And this point shouldn't take too long to cover, but this is just something that you might need to bear in mind if you don't see learning paths available. So if you open up your setup and you go into learning, if my keyboard keeps up, you'll see here there's a button here for learning paths under user engagement. So if you click on that, this should be on by default, but if it's not, you just come into setup, type in learning in the quick find, go to learning paths, and you can turn it on or you can turn it off. But it should be, in most orgs, it'll be on by default. But if you don't, you'll just come into here and you'll turn it on. And that's all you need to do to actually gain access to learning paths inside Salesforce. But that's very simple. The main bit that what we want to be showing you is actually how you assign badges and content inside of Salesforce. So to do that, the easiest way to do that is to click on this little trailhead icon that you see on the top of your web page. You'll see it next to your quick action buttons, and alongside that near your favorites. But you're looking for the trailhead icon here, and you see it here, learning paths. When you click on that, you'll get the option to go straight to your guidance center. And I'm going to shift that up a little bit. You'll see what badges have been assigned to you. So you can see here, I set myself up when I was building up the session, a one for Nonprofit Success Pack Basics. But to work through how you would actually assign badges to your users, you would click on the Go to Learning Home button at the bottom of the screen there after you've clicked on the trailhead icon. Doing that will take you to a new page, which you'll see here, which is a new tab called Learning. I've also got that in my drop-down list, in my navigation menu there, so you can see that. And from here, what you can see learning content, you can see grouped into required, suggested, in progress, or completed. For example, if I click on in progress, you'll see that the MPSP one is there. When you click on completed, you'll see there, you've got other badges that are being worked through. You can see that I did some example ones the other day. How you manage the assignments is by this tab at the top here, which is Manage Learning Assignments. So if you click on here, you can see here I've got a list of all of these assignments that I've made. But I'm going to click and to add a new one. All you do is you click on New. And you can see here you get the option to set content type. You've got the option to do a link, or you've got the option to do a trailhead module. The only time I've really used the link is when I've done couldn't find a module on Trailhead on their paths, so I've inserted that via link. However, for the purpose this time, we're going to go with a one that is on there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to search in nonprofit, and you'll see here there's a load of different ones that appear for nonprofit. And I'm going to add in the campaign management. And you'll scroll down here. And I see Andy's got his hand raised.
Yeah, I think I was just going to point out that where you've got that link rather than the badge, that's where you could put one of, like Vicki's trail mix links in there, could you?
Yes.
I suppose
You could do, yes. You could put in like things like trail mixes in there.
Not just Vicki's, anybody's, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
No, only I'm allowed to make trail mixes.
Yeah.
It could be even Salesforce documentation though in there.
Yeah.
It could be, yeah. It could be stuff that you want people to read and stuff like that. The bit I'm unclear about, because I haven't been able to fully test it myself, is if you put in a link to anything like a trail mix or a badge that you can't find in the module searcher or anything like that, whether or not you'll be able to report on that, which is what I'll be showing in a bit. So that's the only bit I'm unsure about on the links, whether they are reportable inside of Salesforce. The ones that you can do via the Trailhead module component here, those are, you can report on those. But we'll be getting to the reporting shortly on that front. But again, just scroll down. So we've added the module on here. And for the look, there's two different things you have in for location. And you can assign to an app, and you can assign to objects and records. Now, if you click on here, you'll see here, this just brings up a list of all of your applications. I'm not going to change this because I would normally be, for this one, I'd normally be doing it for Nonprofit Success Pack, because we're doing it specifically around an MPSP module. But because MPSP is not installed in this particular dev org, I'm just going to leave it at all for now, because that's, to me, is the best one for that. And we said this was campaigns management, so I'm going to click on objects, and I'm going to link it to campaigns. And this will give you a list of your objects that you have in your org. The final couple of steps is around assignments and when it is due. So you can you can assign it to all users. You can have the option to not assign it to anyone, which will mean that basically that will appear in the suggested list, I believe. However, I'm trying to think of a use case of why you wouldn't assign it to somebody. I would, if I was just doing this, I would always be assigning it to somebody, whether it be a member of my team, a colleague who's kind of say, hey, look, Mark, do you know of a trailer badge for this? And I go, yes, I do. I'll share with you in app learning, and you could do that kind of thing. So I would always be looking to assign it, but I can't think of a reason why I wouldn't not assign it. The third option, which is the one I would be going for this demo, is to assign to specific users or groups. And we can click here, and you can see here we've got two different options when this drop-down component appears. We've got users or groups. In this demo, I don't think I have any groups. Let me just see if I find something. So we've got opportunity approvers, I do, but that's something different. So you can search for your groups, and these are your public groups that you have inside of Salesforce. For this, we're going to do it as a user, and I'm going to assign this to my fictitious admin, and I'm also going to assign it to myself because I realized I want to actually show how you can report. Actually, know what I'm going to do. No, I will. I'll leave that as it is. Half talking to myself through this. So I'll assign it to both myself and my fictitious admin. And you can see a due date. So you can see either no due date, due in 7, due in 30, or you can add a custom due date. And if you do that, what you'll see there is you get a calendar picker field, a date field. So let me just say I want it to be completed in 2 weeks on that one. And that's basically all you need to do to assign once you've went through all these steps. And all you need to do for this, click on save. But I can see we've also got a couple of extra hands raised. Do people who want to raise hands maybe ask their question? I can't see who's got the hand raised.
Shall I go, Mark? This is Jay. My question, I've put it in the chat, but I was just wondering what user you are at the minute. What sort of permissions do you need to be able to assign modules to other users?
Yeah. So to my knowledge, yeah, I let me double check that. I can't remember seeing anything about permissions, to be honest. So I'll be check on that, and I'll see if I can find that out. But I can't remember actually seeing anything related to permissions around that front.
So possibly anybody can assign any module to anyone else.
That might be the case, yes. But
Okay.
I'll double check that, and I'll see if I'll put that in the chat, or maybe touch base after the session. But I can't recall seeing anything around permissions on that front. And there was a second hand raised as well.
I think that was my Mark from previous.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah.
No worries. No, that's absolutely fine. Okay.
I've got a question. Right. I might have missed this because, but how does this appear for the end user when you assign them a new thingy? What's their experience of? Yeah. Is it a really annoying pop-up, or is it something else? Or?
Yeah. Well, I'll double that once I've shown the report. So we'll get that say. But
I must just say that all pop-ups by their nature are annoying. So that was a waste of an extra word. But anyway, thank you.
But to give a short answer to that part, you don't actually see any kind of notifications in the system. For when I did it, when I was doing this before with my fictitious admin. So, but I'll show you how that works afterwards. But you don't get any notifications, you don't get like an email alert or anything like that, which is why I mentioned before that the object that holds the assignments in can't be linked to Flow, because that's where my head first went, was like, oh, well, if they don't get a notification, I want to send them a notification, say, hey, look, you've been assigned this badge, but you can't actually access the object in Flow underneath the hood. Now that might be a bit too advanced for some potentially, but that was kind of where my head went, was like, well, if they don't get notified, I want to create a custom notification for them. You can't actually access it within Process Builder either. So I did have a look at it there. Okay, great. So what we'll do now is we'll save this assignment, and I'll show you an example, the report a little bit. Okay, so let me just go into setup, and I won't create a new report type, but the thing you have to remember is that you don't have the report types for this object aren't available by default. So I'm just going to quickly show how the report works. Because I realize we are almost over time. And I'm sure lots of us in the call know what we're doing for report type. And you can see here, I've got a report type already set up. And I won't finish through the progress, but I'll show you what the object's called. So the object for the report types that we'll be looking at is called learning content progresses. And basically, once you've created that, you just go through the report builder as you would, and then you'd create your report type. For the purpose of this demo, I'm not going to do that, so I'm just going to click on cancel. And I'm going to show you the quick little tip that actually Emma gave me the other day, because I was struggling a little bit with it. And that is around here. So if I go to edit layout, what you can do is there's an option on this side where you can add fields via related lookup. And you can then go into, for this one, you can go into user, and then you can add some other options in there. So that we just say, for example, wanted to add active and email and title. I can click on them and I can add them into the layout. And you see that I've also got the manager field, active, email, and title. I'm going to shift that around a little bit, just so that's in alphabetical order, except to keep with my OCD to make sure it's all fine. So that's how I've added those into there. The main bit I want to show today after the assignments is the reports as well. So what you can do in Report Builder is you can actually build in assignments in reports around the learning progress. And I'm going to not let you go through all of the reports, but you'd just be creating a new report, and then you'd be looking for the report with whatever name you've given it to. Mine is learning content progress. I'm going to go to my learning content progress folder, and you can see here I've got two reports, and here I've got complete learning tasks and in progress learning tasks. And if I go to in progress, what you'll see here, and this is where the limitations of this comes in a little bit. If I open this up, you'll see that the module that I've added in, and I've got a report chart here, the campaign one is not there because I haven't actually started that or completed that. And you can see here, I've got my fictitious admin here is there, and you can see I've not completed that. Now I've got a couple of formulas in this report, which is ones I've created by myself, which is basically how much of the modules have been completed, what was the earned point rates, and then the earned point rates. The issue of earned point rates is that this doesn't calculate until you've completed the module in question. So if you've got a module and it's got say you've done 4 badges and you've got a little bit extra in there, what you won't be able to do is you won't be able to see how much of the points have they completed until they've went through the whole entire module. So that's a little bit lacking on that front. But the last thing we said was to show here, just so I can show you how the report is going to work. I'm going to need to stop sharing my screen temporarily because I need to switch into my fictitious admins user. So I'm just going to log in as my open up my fictitious admin side. And I suppose while I'm sorting out this side of this final bit of the demo, was there any questions that I haven't answered yet?
No, I don't see any others in the chat. I think you've gotten them all.
Great. Okay. So let me now. That's great. So I'm just gonna have a look. I'm gonna sort out this fictitious user. Okay. And now I'll share my screen again. And that should be the correct one. Okay, so this is my fictitious admin in here. I'm just going to change the app that he's in. So you can actually see what I might be doing. There we go. And you'll see here, there's no notifications or anything to that nature for here. If I click on the learning path, you'll see there's nothing there yet, which isn't necessarily the best. However, if I go to my learning tab, you'll see here, when I hop in, I've got the badges I've been assigned to this admin, and I will show you how with the campaign management one, how this works. And what you can do actually, which is actually quite helpful, is you can actually complete all of these modules straight from within Salesforce when you're in here. Basically how it works is almost got like an embed feature within this tool. So let me just quickly complete a badge. This is something that I don't recommend doing, but I'm just going to finish off some questions. So I'm just going to have a look at that. So there we go. And let's see if I get 100%. Obviously, I don't recommend doing it this way normally, but just for the purpose of the demo, just going to have a look.
We now have you on a recording doing this, Mark.
You have, you do. So there you go. So I got 100 points on that one. So it's a good thing that I got 100 on that one without even trying. That would be beneficial. Now,
no pressure, right?
No pressure. Okay, so you can see there, I've completed the module, but I'm now going to show you the last little bit, and this is where I need to switch screens again. I'm going to show you how this now appears in the report. And what we haven't done is I haven't shown you how this can go into dashboards or anything like that. But if I now refresh this report, you will see there that my campaign management one is sitting on the bottom. This is most recent. I can see here I've got the last attempt date for the campaign management was today, which is this record sitting in number 1 here at 4 p.m. There is 500 points available in the badge. However, because again, I said this doesn't actually calculate how many points you've earned until you've completed the module. It says here that I've got 0 points. Now, if I had done all of the badges in this particular module, you'll see that it'll tally up to the points in total there. But that's really in-app learning. So it's relatively simple overall. There is some limitations to it. One limitation to it, let me just edit this report and I'll show you for example, is you can't actually do any filters around about people that you manage. So for this tool, I would possibly want to be doing like a filter here where I would be like, like say for example, show me all my team's learning content progresses, but you've only got the option there for all. And what I've got here is, you can see here in this filter, I've done a is completed false filter, and I've got my user manager name equals Mark Jones in that one. So in this org, this fictitious admin is managed by my admin user, but you can filter that down into user manager full name equals, and then you would have to hard code that name in. If you had I don't know if you could do it with a formula field where you could filter down that way, in terms of saying if the current user ID was you and you were the manager. I don't think that would work, but you could just use the related field, user manager full name, and then equals yourself or whoever needed to. So you could easily filter that down. I haven't done too much with the team side of it, so I don't know how that works fully. But that is something I'll be looking at shortly at some point further down the line. But I want to show this little bit as we wrap up. So with that being said, I will look to stop sharing my screen and see if we've got any questions in the chat. It needs to be a t-shirt. I'm sure that is. Getting signed up, guys. So yeah.
Yeah, we just put some trailhead modules on there. So there's a module, and then there's a really good trail mix that it looks like somebody from Salesforce put out that has some FAQs and some links to videos and things like that.
Yes, there is some stuff on there. There was some stuff that came out when they did the seasonal spring release badges from there, from the Learn More 2021 trail mix. So that should be available. And there's also ones that's available on my Trailhead as well. So, and if I remember correctly, the My Trailhead, at least one of the badges actually does pick on in-app learning, as a follow-up step. Go, okay, now that you've actually created your badge, here's how you can assign it to your users to learn. But yes, and I'm trying to see. I don't see any further questions in the chat. But I did see that. Jay's you've got your hand up. Is that from previous, or did you have a question there, Jay?
That's from previous. Oh dear.
No worries. Cool. Yeah. So, is there any further questions, or are we good? I'm guessing by the signs we might be good. So with that, then, what I'll do is I'll stop the recording, because we're finished with the presentation side for now. So I'll do the official kind of wrap up and say thank you for joining, for those who have been watching along and watching the recording. So I'll stop the recording now.